to Stender Painting. I'm your host, Jimmy Stender. This video is intended for someone who is either very new or someone who has never tried painting a miniature before. I'll go through all the fundamentals such as how to use a shade, a base paint, a layer paint, etc. And I'll also show you how to paint this Tyranid Termagant. However you pronounce it, I'm going to show you how to paint it and place it in the battlefield in no time. Let's get painting. If you're brand new to this hobby and would like to learn more about Warhammer 40k, you can get this getting started with Warhammer 40,000 from Games Workshop, your local game store, and a ton of online shops. It comes with a booklet about how to get started with the hobby and 2 miniatures. I'll be focusing on this Tyranid in this video, but you'll also get this Space Marine. And if you would like to see me paint it, leave me a comment and tell me which chapter you would like to see me paint it in. Anyways, these models are pushed to fit. I usually glue them together, but if I have to paint on the underside of this model, I would have a difficult time doing that if I glued it together, so I haven't done that. Before you begin painting your miniatures, you will want to prime them. This process, known as undercoating, provides a smooth, even surface for you to paint onto. Easily the fastest and most effective way to undercoat your models is to use a spray undercoat. In this case, I've chosen Agrax White, available at Games Workshop. The spray is formulated to give you an excellent finish that your paint range will adhere to effortlessly. Sprays are quick to use, especially across large number of models, and they enable you to get great results in next to no time. With that said, however, you will need access to a well-ventilated area, preferably outside, to spray your models for obvious health and safety reasons. If you are like me, you would like to use a spray stick. I've got this one from Games Workshop as well, where you can stick your models onto and spray them. But please do it outside. If you have never undercoated a model before, be sure to check the instructions. You should be aware of the temperature, shake it for a couple of minutes, keep a certain distance from your miniature, and well, if you are going to spray, move the model around and not the spray can. And then leave it for about 15 minutes to dry. I'm going to prime this model outside off cam, but as always, be safe and spray outside and check the instructions. I'll be right back. The undercoat is applied and I've given it plenty of time to dry. Now, when using a spray can, it might be difficult to reach some areas, such as the underside here, as you can see. But fear not, Agrax White also comes in a bottle of paint. So all I'm going to do is give it a good shake. Put some of it on my palette. Thin it with some water in about 1:1 ratio. And then just paint it straight onto the areas that the undercoat has missed. You might need a couple of layers for this to cover perfectly. And when you're finished, just give it a few minutes to dry and we can move on to the next step. When the undercoat is completely dry, we are ready to move on to the next step, which is the fun part, painting the miniature. The first color I'm going to apply to this model is Seraphim Sepia, which is a shade variant. Shades can be washed onto a model to create areas of darker color, defining details and accentuating recesses. Shades are formulated to flow over paints and into the recesses of your miniature. Once applied, they dry to provide a very effective matte shading for your models. I promise they are both fun and very easy to use. I'm going to use the shade straight from the pot. Just make sure not to overload your brush. And then I'm going to apply it all over the miniature. It's as simple as that. As you can see, it is very, very thin and will flow into the recesses, making them very dark and well defined. When the shade paint is applied, leave it for about half an hour to dry completely. If you're batch painting, then you can continue with this stage on the rest of your squad. This step has added some much needed definition and shadows. When dry, we are ready to move on to the next step. Now it's time to apply a base coat. A base coat is often the first paint you apply to any given model, although not in our case for this video. Base paints are more pigmented than the rest of the Citadel's paint range and are intended to provide coverage with a single layer. However, I will strongly recommend that you thin your paints, always, regardless of if you're using base paints or layer paints. A single coat of paint straight from the pot runs the risk of obscuring small details on your models, and we don't want that. So in short, 2 or 3 thin coats of paints are much better than a single thick coat. Also, always remember to shake your paint before you use it. Like so. And then we are ready to apply to our palette. I'll take 2 drops of paint, like so. And then I'll clean my brush and add 2 drops of water. So it's a roughly 50-50 mix. Oh, and also remember to close the lid of your paints. We don't want them to dry out. And with that, I'm going to clean my brush once again. And we are ready to paint. What I'm going to paint here is the carapace of this Tyranid. So I'll apply a little bit of paint to my brush and just pick a point where I would like to start and, well, paint. The base coat is intended to be painted everywhere, even into the recesses. So just take your time with this and, well, have fun. And of course, be careful not to hit the areas we've already painted where we don't want it to be red. When the base coat is applied, leave it for at least 5 minutes to dry. The base coat is dry and it looks, well, flat. So it's time to add another shade, this time only to the red areas. And for that I'm going to use Reikland Fleshshade. I am using my conveniently named shade brush for this, but when you get to the smaller areas you might want to switch to a smaller brush for better control. But other than that, it's quite easy, just apply it, not too much on your brush, all over the red areas. It will run into the recesses and define it much better. When the shade has been applied, leave it for about 30 minutes to dry completely. Next up, I would like to use a layer paint. Layering is all about creating a realistic effect of light hitting your miniature. Done well, it makes your model appear more natural, richer in color with a wider range of tones, and best of all, they will look absolutely fantastic on the battlefield. This is an optional step, but I would highly recommend it. And once more, I would like to add some to my palette. That should be enough. And as I've said before, always remember to thin your paints. And here we go. Making a highlight is all about hitting all the raised areas, such as on his head here, for example. If you notice, I'm using the side of my brush rather than the point. It is much easier to control it that way. And just work your way around the miniature and hit all the raised areas. Just be careful and take your time with it. After a few minutes the paint should be dry. Making highlights are one of the most time-consuming aspects of miniature painting. There's no need to rush it, just take your time highlighting and your miniature will really pop on the gaming table. Also, if you're batch painting, remember to take breaks, drink some water or coffee or whatever your preferred beverage is. All we have left now are some minor details, and I would like to start with the tongue and the gun. And for that I'm using Carroburg Crimson, which is also a shade paint. For better control I'm using a smaller brush for this. But all I'm going to do is take it straight from the pot and apply it over the tongue. Just be careful not to hit the other parts. And also the entirety of the gun except the red areas. This will make him stand out. Once again, leave the shade for 30 minutes before going on to the next step. Next up is another shade paint, this time Agrax Earthshade. And this is for all the small holes and deepest recesses and the joints of the model. So I'm using a very fine brush for this. To just get a little bit on your brush, not too much. Then go around the model, such as the eye sockets here, and shade them to make them even darker than the surrounding skin. Just like this. There are plenty of deep recesses and joints on this model. Just, as I said, take your time and go around the model. Apply the shade like this. Like so. Oh, and also I'm going to shade the inside of his mouth. The shade shouldn't take so long to dry this time around, but if you want to be perfectly certain, give it about half an hour. The shade is dry and I would like to paint the teeth, and for that I'm using Pallid Wych Flesh, which is a layer paint. As always, add a little to your palette and mix it with water. Next, grab a little paint and then pick out each individual tooth. Be careful not to hit the recesses in between. Small amounts of layer paints dry pretty fast, so you can easily go on to the next step. And finally we're going to paint the eyes, and for that I'm using Gitz Yellow, another layer paint. To paint the eyes all we need is a little dot. Just brace yourself as best as you can and be very carefully move the brush in and dot the eye. Also there is an eye on his gun. Paint that as well now. And here we are, a very simple, quick and effective way to get your Tyranids onto the gaming table in no time, while looking good. I've painted the base off cam, because I'll leave that project up to you, my dear viewer. You might want to make sure that your bases match each other for your army. If you have any questions about miniature painting, then please don't hesitate to write me in the comment section. I hope you found this tutorial useful, and I also hope you will share this video with a friend. Sharing is caring, and happy painting!